Hello and welcome to Raw Chatter, the podcast that is all about unfiltered stories of addiction, reinvention, and crucially, transformation. I am your host speaking, Vicky Midwood. I am an integrative health, nutrition, and lifestyle coach. I am also known as the addiction eliminator, and I absolutely love what I do. And I also love being sober. And today I'm going to talk about what it feels like to be 20 years alcohol free. Now, this is not me having a dig at people who drink or alcohol at all. I am going to share how I got to be where I am 20 years without alcohol. And for those of you who don't know my story, I'm not going to go massively into all of the nitty gritty, but I am going to pull out kind of the key things that I think are important and may resonate with some of you. And really the reason I want to do this is because a lot of people, in fact, more and more people year on year are doing dry January. Now, when it first started, I have to admit, I was a little bit skeptical about whether it would genuinely help people to stop, to stay stopped, to change their relationship with alcohol and how they felt about it. And over the years, I am delighted to say that certainly the conversations that I've had and the people who I know who have done it, it has been, on the whole, not for everybody, but on the whole, it has been very positive. And that's why they continue to do it. And also Sober October, same idea. It's giving yourself and your body and your brain and your liver and all of your other organs that get affected, which is basically all of your cells in your body, by alcohol, a bit of a break if you do drink on a regular basis. Now, the interesting thing is, a lot of people are deciding to do it now, even though they don't necessarily drink a great deal, just because it's easier to do it when everybody else is doing it. And that's really what I want to talk about and touch on. Just over 17.5 million people in the UK said that they were going to do dry January. Now, how many of them did actually do it? And if we're not at the end of it yet, so it's still going on. So if you are participating, are you still doing it? Are you feeling as good about it as you did when you started? Or, as is the experience for many people, are you feeling even better than you thought you could? Now you've gotten over the first week to 10 days, which can in general be more of a challenge if you have been drinking quite a lot, especially over Christmas. If you've been drinking on a daily basis for maybe a month because of work and commitments and social engagements, and it's just a part of the culture and the lifestyle that you are in. And what I want you to know is that there is no judgment from me. I'm going to share with you that I'll be 21 years in summer alcohol free. And I absolutely love the fact that alcohol has no part of my life. I don't have to make any decisions around it. I just don't. And it's as simple as that. I do not drink. And I am not in by any means a minority in terms of globally. The amount of people who do not drink at all, because it's not a part of their culture, is massive. It's huge. Also, the amount of people who just drink occasionally now and then because it is a cultural norm or it's to do with religions or celebrations, and they can take it or leave it. They are also massive. It's a massive group of people. There are more people who, though, have a problem with you not drinking when they are still drinking. And that's kind of really what I wanted to cover in this podcast, because dry January is something, and Sober October, that gives you an opportunity to give your body, your brain, your liver, all of your system a chance to have a little break and a breather from alcohol in your system, but also to just see, how do you feel? How does it affect you on an emotional level? Are you, or have you recognized that you have been using it to, for example, manage stress or to help you to get to sleep in the evening? And did you find that initially, especially in the first 7 to 14 days, it was a bit of a challenge? But if you are now on day 17, if you've been doing it right from the start, I'm recording this on the 17th, so you'll be actually listening to this on the 20th. So if you are 20 days in, then chances are that actually now you are really starting to feel the benefits. The benefits being more energy, more clarity, being able to recognize that maybe you haven't got that brain fog and that kind of underlying fatigue and lack of clarity that perhaps you didn't even know you had until you haven't. And this is the beauty of alcohol, especially if you weren't somebody who drank a lot frequently. Now, 20 days in is where you really start to see that actually, do you know what? I am thinking and feeling so much better. I don't know anybody who has done dry January and found that they haven't had some benefits. And what I really want to help us to recognize is that as a society, the more and more people are choosing to be alcohol free, the more I hope we are going to be open to respecting it. There are a number of people who purely and simply have a habit of drinking, and they can just stop it because they change that habit. And really, to change a habit, we have to kind of go about it in sort of three ways. One is we either completely abstain, which is what dry January is about, or we decide that we are going to replace it with a different habit. So when you were having a drink of, say, a glass of wine or a beer when you came in, you now do something else. You now make a cup of tea, and you make a thing out of serving it in a nice teacup and using a teapot, and it becomes an important part of that switch off from coming home from work and downtime. Or what we do is we stop for a bit, and then we relapse and we go back into those habits. And for most people, replacing it is a good idea. Eliminating it completely and getting rid of it completely, for many, is what they need to do. But some actually find that what it allows them to do is almost have a bit of a reset, and they can then just decide that, you know what, I don't need to drink like I was doing, but I'm not going to set myself this kind of impossible idea that I'm not going to drink again, or I'm never going to drink, because that feels too much. And actually, then I know that there's going to be things that will crop up where I will want to feel a part of. And this is why I said I'm not anti-alcohol, because I completely understand that for a lot of people, it helps you to feel a part of what is going on. Now, I am so delighted that more and more companies now that are actually, or were purely just alcohol companies, are now recognizing that there is a massive market for the alcohol-free versions. So all of the spirits now have an alcohol-free version. Pretty much all of your bottled beers also have an alcohol-free version. And from what I gather, because I don't really go into pubs very much, that all of the draft beers now, a lot of pubs are offering the alcohol version and the alcohol-free version. In other words, it is now much more easier than it ever was to not drink, but to not feel like you're missing out. And I think that is so, so important, because one of the things I know when I first started going to AA back in 2005 is that a lot of people found the pressure, the peer pressure to drink, oh, go on, just have one, was just overwhelming. And in many, many business cultures, it's part of being wined and dined. We say it, don't we? We have an expectation that everybody likes champagne if we're celebrating, for example, and to not participate seems a little bit weird. Now, I get around this by I just hold up the glass, right? And I may even put it towards my lips, but I put it back down again, and then I'll hand it over to somebody else who I know will appreciate it. Now, I'm really, really lucky in that my desire to drink was completely removed for me. And I thank the universe, whatever you believe in, a power greater than yourself, God. I say the universe, because I believe that need, that desire, that obsession was fully removed. And that is what has allowed me to set up my business, to really get clear on what I wanted to do and who I help. And yes, part of what I do is help people to let go of their obsession, their compulsion to drink. And I do that by helping them to understand why they turn to it in the first place. But it's one of the hardest things, or it used to be one of the hardest things, when we come from a society where it's probably the only drug where you're the weird one if you don't do it. Whereas all other drugs, the majority of people are not doing it and are quite happy for you to not do it. Alcohol is the anomaly. If everybody else is doing it, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you doing it? And for many people, that peer pressure can be overwhelming, and it can be the thing that leads them to actually having a serious problem with alcohol that they never would have had if they'd have not been in that kind of environment. And this is kind of a word to those corporate companies out there who still do this, who still believe in the work hard, play hard formula, which I know has been around forever. But what I also know is that the majority of very successful business owners, entrepreneurs, don't play hard in terms of harming their bodies with things like alcohol and drugs and smoking and that kind of stuff. Why? Because they know the detrimental effects on their cognitive abilities, on their memory, on just their energy and their ability to be a decent human being is going to be massively compromised if you put in any of these substances consistently over a long period of time. And we all know that. All of the science is out there. The beauty of today now is, of course, everybody can go onto PubMed and use ChatGPT GPT and ask it to check out research papers via proper sources like PubMed, which is a good one to kind of look at all of the science out there that shows very clearly now that there is no actual safe limit for humans and alcohol. But does that mean that nobody should drink and it's terrible and it's just a poison and no one should participate ever? No, that is not what I'm saying. But what I do want to kind of touch on today is the reasons why we used it in the first place, and crucially, why did you decide that you wanted to participate in Dry January? Because if you're just doing it because everybody else is doing it and you want to fit in, chances are that you won't necessarily get as many of the benefits as you potentially could without knowing your clear why. Now, there is nothing wrong with doing it because a friend's doing it and then going, actually, do you know what? This is great. I'm sleeping better. I'm not forgetting things like I used to. I've seen like I've got more patience. My capacity for people and noise and going out and doing stuff seems to be bigger. I am enjoying life just in general more. Is that all down to the alcohol? Yes, absolutely. Chances are as well, though, if you have decided to do it because you want to feel better, think better, and function better, you're also paying more attention to other things. And this is the important part, because once we put down something that affects our sleep and our energy, it makes us be more aware of what we are putting into our bodies just in general. Now, I'm not saying that this is everybody's experience, but if you are doing it intentionally and you have decided that you want to reset and you do want to feel healthier, look better, because alcohol is massively aging for your skin, then chances are you are thinking about what you're eating. Chances are that you are being more active or are in the throes of getting to be more active throughout the day, whether that's you actually starting a kind of a regimented or planned fitness regime, or whether it's just you're getting out and you're doing more walking or playing outdoors with the kids because you've got the energy to do it and you're not slumped. in a chair having a drink and then you can't be bothered, etc., etc. So if that is what is going on, fantastic. And this is the beauty of it, and this is why I feel so grateful, because once I put the alcohol down, things like working out and training were so much easier. When you're fully present and you are fully aware of what is going on, you can start to help yourself to make better choices, because you suddenly realize that a lot of the choices you were making were because they were the easiest one, they were the quickest one, they didn't take a lot of effort or a lot of energy or a lot of being conscious to make. And when you are alcohol free, it's a lot easier to be more conscious. Now, why am I saying that? Why is that important? Well, most of you know, and if you don't, you will do in a second. 95% of everything we do is unconscious. Right? We've got a part of our brain that helps us to automatize things so that we don't have to think about what we're doing every minute of the day, because there just wouldn't be enough time in the day, and we'd spend our lives just reteaching ourselves how to do simple things like get dressed or open a door. And of course we don't, right? We just do these things on what we call autopilot, don't we? And that's most of the stuff that we do. How we sit, how we stand, how we breathe, how we interact with people, our body language. We don't necessarily know or are fully aware or are, in other words, are fully conscious of what we are doing 95% of the time. We also very often keep on repeating the same patterns and make the same decisions day on day, week on week, month on month. Now, when you have been doing that with alcohol as well, and then you stop it, it just helps you to become much more conscious. So if you're only on average 5% conscious per day, then when you put down alcohol, it's almost going to feel that it's twice that. And it's not going to be, but it's going to feel that way. And this is the beauty of it, because it's an absolute opportune time for you to look a little bit further at the life choices that you are making. Now, I am not a fan of going, right, that's it, it's January, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to be a whole new person. And I do think that it's an opportunity for you to do this one thing for January and then go, okay, what do I think I would like to focus on improving just 1% each day in February? And if you set yourself a challenge per month and you keep each challenge going, then you've got the potential of making 12 changes. Now, they don't have to be significant. It could be that your February challenge is for you to just get outside and walk every single day. And it may be that you're doing it, but you're doing it intermittently, and you haven't created a pattern or a habit where it fits into your day. And maybe that is something that you could do. And you're not going to be doing it for an hour. That's ridiculous. You're going to start with 5 minutes and then you'll build up 10 minutes, or it could just be you walk around the block, but you do it every single day. And why am I saying this? Well, if you do dry January, you have got evidence that you can be consistent. Because if you stay to the end, you've only got another 11 days to go. If you stay to the end, then you have proved that you can be committed to yourself and consistent. You said you were going to do it and you're doing it. And that helps you to trust yourself. And trust in yourself helps to improve your confidence. Now, why is that important when I'm talking about dry January? Well, a lot of the reasons that we drink, especially in social situations, is because we're not confident. What's another name for having a drink? Dutch courage, right? It's external courage. Why? Because it helps us to feel a little bit less inhibited. It helps us to relax. And it works, and it absolutely does. But when you recognize that doing what you said you were going to do, committing to something, and then following through with action also helps you to feel confident, helps you to build trust, it means then that you can use this as momentum to do the next thing, because you've already been taking action. And for those of you who don't know, We never do something on momentum first or motivation. We take action, and through taking an action, we build the motivation and the momentum to continue to keep going. Why? Because it feels good. Now, if dry January is not feeling good for you, if you are struggling with it, if you're recognizing that, actually, do you know what? I feel very uncomfortable, very out of sorts, that I'm struggling to actually function well without this substance, then this is where reaching out for some help is a good idea, because it may well be that physiologically, biochemically, your body is indeed going into withdrawals, and that's why it doesn't feel good. Now, it doesn't have to be dramatic, but it can just be, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting that my body has become reliant on it. And giving yourself the break, the space for 30 days is a really, really good idea. And then the question becomes, what are you going to do at the end? Because a lot of people are so involved in doing it, staying in the day, which is excellent. Just for today, I am not going to drink alcohol is a brilliant way of doing it, because you recommit to yourself every day and then you follow through with action. And you already know you have every intention of making sure that you stick to it. So you're going to get to the end of the day, you're going to get that dopamine hit. Yes, I've done it. And then you look at your calendar and that's another day that you can cross off. So these are all really good positives for helping us to recognize that this is a good thing and I'm staying in the moment. But I'm going to invite you to think about, so what will you do afterwards? Is the intention then to have some limits, have some rules, have some boundaries around alcohol after the 30 days? Is it that you are going to say to yourself, I am only going to drink now when I go out, and I'm not going to drink at home, for example? And a lot of people do choose to do that. And it is such a relief and such a release that they don't then have to make a decision about, oh, should I have a drink tonight? Or I don't want to upset anybody if I do. Any of that stuff that potentially can go on in households, because the answer is no, I don't drink at home. And that's a really, really good one and a really, really easy one to implement. Do you say that actually, no, I am going to have a drink at home because when I get home, it's my sanctuary and that is where I feel comfortable and where I want to relax. But I'm not going to drink during the week. I'm only going to stick to weekends. And that may be something that you do. My feeling on that is fine if you decide that you are going to have a number of drinks that you will also stick to. For example, so it's 2 on a Friday maybe, and perhaps, 1 or 2 on a Sunday. Ideally not all 3 days. And I'm classing Friday as the weekend. So you could do it that way. But there is the potential, if you say, I'm only going to drink on weekends, that you could then turn it into a binge every weekend, which means that you spend Monday, Tuesday, and potentially part of Wednesday, because it takes a while for it all to get out your system. And depending on your age, because as you get older, it takes even longer. It's only going to be sort of Wednesday afternoon that you'll be fully focusing and back to fully functioning as you could have been. So that is something that I would say just be aware of. And why I'm mentioning this is because if you have a plan now and you have some awareness of what you may do or what your behavior patterns have been in the past, then you're going to make a better decision about what you want to do moving forward. Now, I know that for a lot of people, just doing this dry January has been the exact reset that they have wanted and needed. And they have put some clear boundaries in place and they've stuck to them for years. And it's been really, really simple. I also know that for other people, it's been an opportunity for them to just say, actually, I'm loving this and I just don't want to go back. And they just don't. And it's not because they have said that they never will, but they've just realized that this feels so good that I don't want to feel like I did when I was drinking ever again. I just don't want it. It's not worth it. And that happens for a lot of people. But there is always going to be the group of people who will then think that they have given their system a break and then just going to go straight back into what I was doing before. And if that is you, I'm going to invite you to make some notes. and get curious. See how you feel doing that after day 1, and then on day 2, and then on day 3, and then on day 4. Because here's the thing, you may get a shock to the system, literally, on every level, if you go back to doing that, having had a break from it, just how much it does affect you. And if you've been doing it for a while, I've been drinking on a regular basis, and I'm not talking about like copious amounts necessarily, but just regularly, maybe a couple of glasses of wine a night, maybe just 1 beer every night. But you've been doing it for months and for years, and you've actually had a full break now. You may be surprised at just how much it does affect you, because beforehand you genuinely didn't think that it did. And that's an experience that a number of people have. Now, some of them dismiss it and just go, well, okay, and carry on anyway, right? But for others, it's a real wake-up call where they go, oh my God, okay, it really does affect me more than I even gave myself a thought to think that it did, because I just didn't know. I thought I was fine. I thought I was still functioning fine. And I'm realizing even a little bit, I'm not functioning as well as I thought I was. Whatever the outcome is, what I want to say is, if you are doing it, good for you. I really do hope you are doing it for yourself. And if you are in that kind of, oh my goodness, I'm white knuckling it now, I'm going to invite you to allow yourself to feel the feelings and ask yourself, what was alcohol doing for you? Get honest. Get honest about what it gave you, how it made you feel. And is there something else that you could do that will help you to feel that way? And I'm going to leave that with you there. I hope this has been interesting, thought-provoking. That was my plan. And I'm going to invite you to sit down with a pen and paper and ask yourself some of those questions. And I'm going to leave you with this, as I always do. We only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. And until next time, I'm going to invite you to give me a like, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. And if this has been helpful to you, please do let your friends know. Pass on the links so that we can grow our audience and get you some really exciting guests in 2026. And until then, take care of yourselves. Have a great day.